Hey folks, recently I did a video about a church here in Nova Scotia that was fined $70,000. Somewhat between them and their congregation, they were fined a little over $70,000 because they were gathering together during a pandemic despite the province telling them not to. Now, I received a lot of comments on that video. I received a lot of comments from people saying that they shouldn't be gathering, they should be charged. I received comments from people saying, you have no idea what you're talking about, we have a right to gather. I heard I heard all kinds of different things. But what struck me in the comments from the video, in the comments that it received on Facebook from the number of people that shared it, I mean, it got really big for my channel. From the comments that I'm seeing in news articles about situations like this, not only here in Nova Scotia, but in Ontario and in Alberta as well, and there was a couple of cases in BC, it's really informative to me. We, in church world, we have been debating and trying to figure out why our attendance numbers are diminishing the way they have. And this is long before a pandemic, long before COVID-19 ever showed up. What's going on in church world that people aren't coming anymore? What's going on that nobody wants to come to our services? What's going on that nobody wants to be a part of what it is we're offering? If you really want to know, go and read the comments. Go on Facebook and read the comments that unchurched people, just regular people out in the community, leave on a video like that, leave on a news story like that. It's incredibly telling. See, these comments, these posts, these opinions that people who aren't churched, unchurched people, or people who have left the church, the comments and the opinions that they leave, they say things like, churches are selfish. Churches are ignorant. And by ignorant, I mean uninformed. Churches are self-serving. Churches don't matter. Churches are scary. I've gotten emails from people who have told me stories, wonderful stories, honest stories, that they literally are afraid of local congregations who worship nearby. They are literally afraid of them. There was a news article that came out of Calgary today about a pastor who was arrested yesterday. And in the article, the reporter talked to a couple of the neighbors of that church, people that lived in that neighborhood, and they said the same thing. The way they behave is scary. The way they behave is off-putting. It's unnerving. Now, I know we're not, as church, we're not supposed to be here to bend and deflect according to the ways of the world. I know all that. We're supposed to hold true to Christ. We're supposed to hold true to our faith. But at no point does Jesus or Paul or John or Peter or anybody else ever tell us that we should be acting in such a way that it terrifies our neighbors. That we should be acting in such a way that our existence leaves a bad taste in the mouth of the people in our community. Now, I feel like I've done a talk very similar to this, and I know I have. I did a talk a while back about please don't let them be Christians, and I did a talk before that about the fact that we need better PR, we need to rebrand. And it's amazing to me how deaf the church is to how the world feels about us. It's important. And again, I'm not saying we should change all of our teachings in order to fit in with the ways of the world. I'm not. But we are given the instruction to make disciples. We're given instruction to make disciples of all the world. If you don't tune in for that whole feed the poor thing, fine. If you don't buy into the whole what you do for the least of these, you do for me, I'm okay with that. But everybody agrees, every Christian should agree that Jesus gave us at least one instruction, which was to make disciples of all the world. It's an impossible task if the whole world distrusts you. It's an impossible task if the world is afraid of you. It's an impossible task if the world believes you to be selfish. We all have people in our lives that are somewhat selfish. We all have people in our lives that are kind of jerks. And they're always the people that when you hear they're going to show up, you go, well, it'll still be fun. We don't want to spend a lot of time with people like that. We don't want to offer ourselves to people like that. We don't want to give over our energies to people like that. It doesn't make sense to us. We want to be around people that lift us up. We want to be around people that feed us and help us to grow. I'm happy being around people that challenge me. But if I need help, I'm not going to go to someone who I think is selfish. If I'm down, I am not going to go to someone that I distrust. If I'm looking for help, if I'm looking for support, if I'm looking to connect to God, I am not going to go to someone that I am afraid of. One of the great things about this channel for me, and this is a purely selfish thing, but one of the great things about this channel for me is that I have learned so much about how the world sees the church. I'm eternally grateful for that. If I never did another video, if this channel went away tomorrow, YouTube finally said, no, Ed, you gotta go, your ears are too big, and that was it was done, I would walk away feeling as though I have gained the world in information and wisdom. I've never heard anybody tell me that Jesus fella, he's horrible, he's evil, he's vile. I'd never follow that guy. But I've heard it said many times, in many different ways. I've heard that said about the church. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. I pray that if our neighbors see us in these ways, that we will change our direction, that we will shift our focus, that we will be the church we're supposed to be. Amen.